Are we living in a simulation? Welcome back to my channel. Today let's talk about a big and strange idea. What if our world is not the base world? What if it is a program? A very good one, so good that we almost never see the code. Take a breath and look around your room. The light, the shadows, the sound of your own heart, all of it feels real. And it is real for us. But could it also be running on a system we cannot see? This is the core of the simulation hypothesis, a head-spinning concept that even some scientists and philosophers take seriously. The simulation hypothesis. A quick overview. The simple picture goes like this. Long ago or far in the future, a very advanced civilization learns how to create perfect digital worlds. They could program those worlds with self-aware characters, people like us, who think, feel, and love. If many such simulated worlds exist, they might contain vastly more simulated beings than there are original beings in the base reality. In that case, the odds that we are living in the one true reality become very small. Statistically, we'd most likely be in one of the many simulations. This idea was famously articulated by Oxford philosopher Nick Bostrom in 2003. He argued that at least one of three propositions must be true. 1. Almost no civilization reaches a stage capable of simulating reality. They go extinct first. 2. Advanced civilizations have no interest in simulating ancestors. Or 3, we are almost certainly living in a simulation. If you don't like the first two options, extinction or disinterest, you're left with the third, that we're simulated. Tech entrepreneurs have also popularized this notion. Elon Musk, for example, once said, "There's a 1 in billions chance we're in base reality," citing the rapid progress of video games from Pong to photorealistic 3D worlds in a few decades. If graphics keep improving and computing power grows, one day it may be impossible to tell a game from reality. So Musk concludes, it's almost certain some advanced civilization before us already got there, and we're inside their simulation. Even respected scientists find the idea plausible. Astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson has said he thinks there is a 50-50 chance our entire existence is running on someone's hard drive, noting that a far smarter programmer could easily create worlds with beings like us for study or entertainment. And many of us have heard of The Matrix, the iconic film where reality is a computer simulation. The concept of a hidden true reality goes back even further in time. Plato's allegory of the cave and the Chinese philosopher Zhuangzhou's butterfly dream are ancient examples of people questioning whether the world we experience is real or just shadows and illusions. In essence, the simulation idea is a tech-age spin on an old question. How do we know our reality is the ultimate reality? Clues and arguments. Why would we think it's a simulation? Is there any evidence or clue that our world might be a simulation? Advocates of the hypothesis point to a few intriguing observations. Mathematical laws of nature. The universe runs on strict mathematical rules, from gravity to quantum mechanics, which sometimes makes it feel like a giant computer program following a code. As MIT physicist Max Tegmark quipped, if he were a character in a video game, eventually he'd discover the rules are rigid and mathematical, just like our physics. The unreasonable effectiveness of mathematics in describing reality has led some to suspect the code of the cosmos might literally be code. Coding in physics. In an even stranger twist, physicist James Gates found something curious while studying fundamental equations in theoretical physics. He discovered error-correcting codes, the same kind of digital codes that make internet data reliable, embedded in the equations for supersymmetry, basically tiny checksum-like patterns in the core math of our universe. Gates admitted this was baffling. Why would physical laws behave like computer code at all? To him, it raised an eyebrow that maybe reality has an informational, programmed underpinning. Limits and quirks of the universe. Some features of our universe could make you wonder if they were programmed constraints. For example, we have an ultimate speed limit, the speed of light, that nothing can exceed. In a video game, there's often an edge or limit to the map. Comedian Chuck Nice joked, to Tyson's delight, that maybe we can't exceed light speed because the simulation only renders what's needed and won't let us load new galaxies faster than its server can handle. It's tongue-in-cheek, but it does make you think about whether cosmic limits are arbitrary rules of a simulation. Possible physical glitches. If the world is simulated on a finite computer, the programmers might have to make some shortcuts. Researchers have proposed looking for glitches or graininess in the fabric of reality. One idea by Counterarguments. Maybe reality is real after all. Now, before we all start questioning everything, let's hear the other side. There are several skeptical arguments against the simulation hypothesis. Maybe no one can build a world this rich. It could be far more difficult to simulate an entire universe down to every atom than the optimists think. Our best supercomputers today can barely simulate a tiny chunk of the quantum world or a small complex system. Sure, technology will improve, but perhaps there are fundamental limits. The universe is exceedingly large and detailed. Maybe even a Type 3 civilization can't get enough computing power to model every particle and every neuron in real time. There's also the question of simulating consciousness itself. If consciousness has some non-computable component, it might never be fully reproducible in software. Maybe they could do it, but won't bother. This addresses Bostrom's second proposition. Advanced beings might have zero interest in running ancestor simulations of us. Lisa Randall, a Harvard physicist, has voiced this objection. She finds it presumptuous to assume future beings would be keen on simulating primitive life forms like humans. It's human nature to be interested in ourselves. Why assume a higher species would be interested in us? It might be fun to run The Sims for a while, but running an entire universe simulation could be boring, costly, or ethically problematic. Perhaps only a few niche researchers in the future would care to simulate history, and they might not run countless copies. So the scenario of billions of simulations might never come about, making it far more likely we're the first base reality. No evidence, and not even a testable theory, yet. This is a big one. So far, we do not have any direct evidence that we live in a simulation. All the arguments in favor are either philosophical or metaphorical. E.g., math is like code, or games get realistic. There is no smoking gun, like a corner of the sky flickering out, or an equation in nature that clearly shouldn't be there. And importantly, a hypothesis that can't be tested or falsified is not scientific. It's just speculation. Some critics label the simulation idea as an unfalsifiable thought experiment. As one philosopher put it, you're not going to get proof that we're not in a simulation, because any evidence we get could be simulated. A perfect simulation can always fake any evidence. This makes the hypothesis tricky to ever confirm or reject definitively. It could stay in the realm of philosophy rather than science unless someone devises a clever test, like the cosmic ray test, which so far has not given any conclusive result. Probabilities might be overblown. Some analysts argue that even Bostrom's statistical case isn't as clear-cut as it sounds. For instance, astronomers using Bayesian reasoning have shown that if we start with no strong prior belief either way, the odds of base reality versus simulation could turn out roughly 50-50 under reasonable assumptions. In fact, given what we know today, there might be a slight tilt in favor of this being base reality. Musk's 1 in billions claim assumes that advanced simulations absolutely will happen and will be numerous. But if there's even a modest chance that civilizations lose interest, or that consciousness is hard to simulate, that greatly reduces the likelihood that we are in a simulation. In short, we shouldn't leap to the conclusion that we're simulated without more data. The day humans themselves create a simulated world with conscious AI beings, the odds would then shift dramatically. At that point, it would strongly suggest simulations are possible and happening, and thus we're probably one of them. But until then, we're stuck with uncertainty. It might just be a modern myth. Some skeptics point out that the simulation hypothesis is essentially a repackaged philosophical or even religious idea. It replaces God with programmer and creation with simulation. It offers a narrative that there is a higher level of reality and perhaps an answer to who created us. As such, it might be psychologically appealing or frightening in the same way religion or solipsism is, but that doesn't make it true. To many scientists, unless the simulation hypothesis yields a testable prediction or solves a pressing problem, it's more distraction than discovery. Finally, let's remember that no one has found a definitive glitch in the matrix. All the talk of lattices, code, or anomalies in physics are interesting, but nothing has proven we're in a simulation. And given the nature of a perfect simulation, a proof might be forever elusive. So a healthy dose of skepticism is warranted. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and for now, the simulation idea doesn't have much evidence behind it. Glitches in reality. Are we just seeing things? You might be thinking, but I have experienced weird stuff. Moments. Living in a simulation versus base reality. Does it change anything? After all this mind-bending talk, we must ask, so what if we are in a simulation? How should that affect the way we live our lives, if at all? Here's the perhaps comforting answer. It probably shouldn't change much about how we find meaning, behave, or value things. Whether the stuff underneath is quarks and leptons, or bits and bytes on some giant computer, your experiences and choices are still your reality. As one philosopher said, even if everything around you were virtual, cogito ergo sum, you still exist and have to make your own meaning. Think about it. If we are in a program, coffee still wakes you up in the morning. 2 + 2 is still 4. The sun still appears to rise every day. The world follows consistent rules, even if they're rules of code. Truth does not vanish just because the underlying layer might be different. You can still navigate life reliably. Physics works, maps get you home, bread still turns into toast in the toaster. In a stable simulation, the rules won't arbitrarily shift on you. At least, we haven't seen any evidence of that. So, You don't need to despair that nothing is real. The relationships you have, the emotions you feel, those are real to you and the people involved. You lose nothing by acting as if life is real, because for all intents and purposes, it is real to us. In fact, some argue that if this is a simulation, it adds urgency and meaning. If it's a test or a demo, it could end or change if we don't use our time well. That's a speculative angle, but it leads to the same practical advice: make your time count. Below is a simple rule set for life that applies whether we're in base reality or not. Seek strong paths. Focus on habits and actions that are meaningful in any universe. Be kind, help others, and build skills that improve your life and community. Caring for your body and mind, supporting friends, and even strangers when you can. These things have inherent value. In a simulation, positive actions might be exactly the point of the program. In base reality, they certainly make the world better. In either case, you can't go wrong by being a good person. Protect your attention. In a world that might be an elaborate illusion, your consciousness is precious. Don't squander it. Our attention is our most limited resource, the currency of experience. So cut down on noise and distractions when you need to think or create. Make quiet time for yourself away from the constant information stream. If you want to hack the simulation, or just live well, start by not letting the algorithms of social media or trivial pursuits control your mind. Choose what you focus on. As an example, turn off the screen and have a face-to-face conversation with someone you care about. Genuine interactions are gold, whether or not the world is simulated. Create and contribute. One way to prove you exist and matter is to make something. It can be small. Cook a meal, write a song, plant a garden, code a simple program, draw with your child. These creative acts put new meaning into the world. They are our way of participating in reality, or the simulation, rather than just consuming it. And here's the beauty. They stand on their own. A beautiful painting or a helpful invention has the same value and effect within the world, regardless of what's behind the scenes. We don't need to solve the ultimate metaphysics to make our daily lives worthwhile. Be honest and humble with truth. In a discussion like this, it's important to acknowledge, I don't know, when we don't have answers. The simulation question is a big unknown. It's okay to admit that, and it's actually a mark of strength. Similarly, if you make a mistake or discover you were wrong about something, big or small, say so. This is how minds grow, line by line, theory by theory, correcting errors and updating beliefs. Whether we're lines of code or biological neurons, learning and growth come from humility and curiosity. As new evidence comes, we refine our understanding. This scientific mindset will serve us well if someday the simulation hypothesis becomes testable. Guard ethical lines, especially if we become the simulators. Last but not least, let's consider morality in the context of simulations. If one day our civilization can create conscious digital beings, we'll face a profound ethical challenge. A mind is a mind, even if it's made of code. We should have rules against creating suffering in simulations just for amusement. Don't torture Sims or AIs, and don't treat sentient programs as playthings. If we are in a simulation, we can hope our creators have treated us with the same respect. And if we become creators of simulations, we must not abuse that power. In simple terms, do not make conscious beings just to watch them struggle. Compassion should extend to any creature that can feel. whether their feelings come from biological neurons or silico.